I started looking around a little bit and found that St. Thomas had this public policy and leadership program. And so before applying, I met with the program director at the time and thought if it would make sense for my career in terms of developing that way, and I felt that it did. And so fall of 2009, I started at St. Thomas in the master's program. Probably the most eye-opening experience for me for the policy program was the week-long course they do in Washington every year. You spend the week doing meetings on Capitol Hill with members of Congress, with U.S. senators, and going around to different interest groups. And it can range from business lobbying organizations, which I'm more personally affiliated with because of my job, to those working on issues related to human trafficking, study abroad. We did a meeting at the White House with the Deputy National Security Advisor, and you really get to see, what all, you have a better idea of what all is out there, because there are so many areas that touch public policy that you really don't even know exist. And really you get to see the passions of people that do work in these fields and that are trying to make a positive difference in the world. For me, the big thing was that I needed a program that was accommodating to my work schedule because I was going to have to work full-time all the way through, and St. Thomas offered that. The earliest class I had that started, I think, was at 4:30 in the afternoon, and so it was at the end of the day. I'm fortunate in that I work in downtown Minneapolis, so it was convenient as well. But it was a program that allowed me to get the education I needed, but also allowed me to have a life outside of it too. My sort of mantra is I want to be willing to learn something new and realize that there's always a way I can know more, I can learn more, look at things differently, and I always want to be willing to change my mind on something. And St. Thomas did afford me those opportunities. I mean, some of the closest friends I had in the program came from a totally different perspective than I ever had. Growing up in the Twin Cities here, in the suburbs, versus some other friends who grew up in other parts of the country that weren't as advantaged, and so they were able to provide some perspective on what I guess their version of reality was. That was very helpful for me, just to get some perspective. I made some really good friends on the program, and again, it's sort of from diverse backgrounds too. So I do talk to other people that do government relations work, but I also talk to some that are in education leadership still. Whether it's through Facebook or direct interactions, I do keep in touch with quite a few of them. I would say go in with an open mind, be willing to learn something new, be willing to change your opinion on something, or change your stance on an issue, whatever it may be. You certainly don't have to, but I think having an open mind like that and just seeing where other people come from is really important. Because what that does is when you get out in the working world, or if you're already there, is it gives you more flexibility so that you can think strategically, you can plan things in a different way, or be more effective. And it's not always about turning everything upside down and changing the world. It can also be about making things better. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, but and I think if you're going to go into a program, you should have that kind of view of the world.